Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. Today I've got a super exciting release regarding one of our newest tools that we just finished putting together here at A1 Trading. This is a tool that we've been working on for a few weeks now. This is called the Xmr Indicator. And basically what this thing is, you can see it at the bottom of the screen here. It is basically an indicator that specializes basically in finding extreme overbought and oversold conditions in the market. Now, before we get too far, this is not a magical indicator, as no magical systems really exist in my view. This is a tool built to help spot potential overbought and oversold levels. Now, the usability of this is super simple, and what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to go through kind of how it works, what it's useful for, how I like to look at it in terms of setting up trade positions, and how you can get it if you want it to. You can purchase it down below in the description. There should be a link for you to get it, or you can go to the website a1trading.com and go to the software section to find it there. With that said, when we're looking at the indicator itself, down here below, it looks relatively simple, right? It's basically just a standard looking indicator where you've got more extreme readings here at the top and bottom, and then you've got these little bars here which kind of represent our overbought or oversold status. Now what you'll notice here is that when price starts to really move, this is when the indicator actually starts to print some interesting things. For example, here you can see that on the blue bar here we have a nice little spike to the upside as price spikes up here, ultimately resulting in a pretty nice sell-off from there. Now again, it's never going to call it perfectly. It's not exactly, that's not how indicators in general work. They don't tell you exactly when to buy and sell. But this tool is built specifically to help spot potential setups that you can combine with other setups. So personally, when I'm using this tool, what I'm looking for is overbought and oversold readings, and then combining them with my other technical factors, fundamental factors, and building a trade bias or setup with the help of this indicator. So with that said, as a price comes up higher, what we have here at the bottom is we have a series of readings. So we have basically 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 readings here on the Xmr indicator, and then we have the inverse on the bottom side. So we have -1, -2, -3, -4, and -5. So what this basically does is the more overbought or oversold a price movement actually gets, the higher or lower the reading gets. So when the price comes up here, right, or when the bar starts reading up here, this is basically an overbought reading, okay? And so what that means is that as this thing gets further stretched from its means, when we start to see volatility really increasing, then this is going to be considered more of an overbought reading, and the chart down here will print a bar of a reading 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. 5 being extremely overbought, 1 being small, just kind of overbought, right? But what you'll notice here is we have the inverse on the other side. So a -5 basically is going to mean a strong indication of oversold conditions in the market. So when we have this oversold status, what this is telling us is that the market has become stretched the other way. Now, just because a market is stretched does not necessarily mean that it's going to immediately turn back and go back the other way. This is just kind of the case with all market movements. Sometimes we get extreme price movements that keep going. So this indicator by itself is not going to tell you exactly everything you need to know, unfortunately. It would be nice, that would make us all zillionaires, but that's not how the real market works. So again, this is a tool to be used in combination with other factors. However, with that said, again, the more stretched that a price movement gets, the higher or lower the Xmr indicator will actually read. Now what you'll notice is that an actual reading of -5 or 5 is very rare. It does not happen very often at all. So if we take a look here, you can see that we have a couple examples that we can look at. You can see in this case, we were getting a reading of -4, which is actually a very strong oversold level. You'll see that there's these shaded areas here where we've got basically a light tinted gray. That's going to be your 3 or -3 and beyond. So if we have a reading of 3, 4, that's going to be in this area. And then if we have a 5, it's going to hit this area. Or in the bottom side, a -3, -4, and -5. Again, -5 and 5 being the most extreme readings that this thing can print. Now, you might be asking yourself, well, what does this thing actually use? Well, this uses a series of other indicators and price action itself in volatility, right, to look for the craziness or the volatility relative to the previous price action. So to put that simple, if we have a period of time where we're doing something like this, but then we start to really break this movement, when things get very, very extreme, the indicator itself is going to show us that with a big solid bar, which may be a signal to look for signs of reversal. Because a lot of times what happens in markets, we know that a lot of times markets get incredibly bullish or bearish, and they build a massive bias one way or the other. And sometimes when that gets too far stretched, right, there are opportunities to look for strong market reversals. And so the Xmr indicator can be used to help spot those situations where things may be getting a little bit too optimistic or a little bit too sold off or bearish. Okay, and so that is really the core principle of how to use or spot things with this indicator. But now I'm going to show you guys just a couple. We'll take a look at some examples here. So here is an example where a couple different great little opportunities in terms of if you were a counter trend trader, there might have actually been some setups here, right? So we've got readings of -3 here, which actually called a nice little short-term reversal. We've got this reading here printing right around there. Nice little short-term reversal, not great, but some, right? Here, a little bit of reversal there. And so what this is really doing is it's just spotting levels where things may have been a little bit too stretched and they may be due for a short-term reversal. We can actually keep going along and see if there's anything else here. You can see here's one where it was actually early to the trade. So again, if you were just blindly taking the trade based off the indicator, this might not have been the best setup. Now we did get a little bit of a pop before rolling over, but you can see we were early on this one and on this one, but then this one here, -3 area, and down here we saw some pretty nice reversal there. So again, nothing is going to be perfect, but you can see it actually is relatively accurate. Here you can see we start getting a -3 or a +3 reading up here. We start to see a nice reversal, +3 up here, start to see a reversal. And again, this happens again and again. And all this is looking for is cases or situations where the market seems a bit too optimistic and may be due for a reversal. And then on the flip side, the same thing for the sell side, maybe getting a little bit too bearish and maybe due for a reversal. Now, you might be saying, well, I don't really want to trade against the trend, which I totally understand. So what if we enter into a market where things are range bound or sideways? Well, this is actually where the indicator itself really shines in my view, and my favorite way to trade looking for setups using this indicator by itself. And what I mean by that is we're looking for range bound markets. So things where the market is kind of just trading sideways, the indicator itself actually does pretty dang good. So in this case, all 3 times that we see in this range bound market where the market or the Xmr indicator printed a -3 or 3 and beyond, we actually saw some really clean reversals. So you can see here, we get a -3 reading here on dollar yen, and this market moves right back the other way, very nicely catching that reversal. Now again, we get a +3 here. We're in that range bound market. We come up to that resistance point and bam, we actually drop clean. Again, we don't get a reading here. We don't quite see anything here. If you argue that you could take a look at -2 readings, then this may have been a reading of potential reversal. But in this case, if we're only looking at 3s and beyonds, you can actually see that we got our next signal right here and price looked pretty dang good as we reversed very nicely a couple hundred at least pips back the other direction. So again, my favorite ways to trade this are going to be trading it with the trend or in a range bound market. So let me give you one example. So let's say that the market is trending to the upside, right? And I like this trend, but then we get some sort of steep pullback and we get an Xmr reading of, okay, this thing is actually looking overbought. Right? So let's say that this is the Xmr indicator, we get an overbought status of -3. Well, if we can line it up with some other technical factors and we can go with the trend, I actually like that setup a lot. So maybe I'm looking for a supportive level, right? And I'm looking for an oversold condition with this indicator. And then I'm looking to actually get long in favor of the overall trend using the Xmr indicator as a pullback detector, right? So with that said, on top of getting the tool, I've also put together, or our team has put together, some resources on actually how to trade this, or at least our favorite ways to trade this, a little bit more in-depth than I can give you in this short video. But basically, there's 2 real main ways that I like to trade it. Trading it, one, with the trend, and trading the next one is 2, that's a terrible one, That's one. This is two. Number two is range bound markets. So when we, again, have markets that are trading sideways, this thing really seems to excel in finding some potential stretched markets one way or the other. So again, those are my two favorite ways to trade it. Now again, there's a link down below in the description if you do want to get access to this tool. With getting the tool, you get access to the file. You also get access to the arrows indicator component so that you can see the visual representations on the chart as well, which I really like having on there. And then with that said, you can see we also have like an installation guide and things like that that will help you get started so that it's easy to get this on your chart. Now this is built specifically for MetaTrader 4. No other platforms will be able to run this at this time. We may be converting it to TradingView or other things at a later date, but for those of you guys who are using MetaTrader 4, this is the right tool for you if you like looking for potential overbought and oversold statuses. Now again, finally, I don't want to come across with indicators saying that, one simple indicator is going to make you rich or a millionaire. That is absolutely not the truth. But this is a tool that I built for myself initially. I really wanted this tool for my own trading and then decided to go ahead and finalize it, package it, write articles and write different guides and stuff so that people who want this tool also can get access to it. So if you do want access to it, I think it's like $50. You can get it off the site and you can use that link down below. Guys, thanks so much for watching. I hope that you enjoy the tool. I hope that it's helpful to you. Comment down below if you have it, or comment down below your questions, and I'm sure that one of us will get back to you. So thanks so much for watching. We'll see you back in the next video. Thank you.